So we want to do 9.1 number 45. And we do this howsies.
AC factor.
Yeah, we should try to factor the bottom, right? Well, maybe really I should write something first. What can I factor first? Yeah, I can factor an x out of the top. So what am I left with after I get an x out of the top? 3x minus 2y?
Yes.
Okay, and this bottom bit, I don't know, I gotta factor somehow. I might look at it for a second and think to myself, is that a perfect square?
Nope. Crumb bum.
How do I know that's not a psst?
3 times 2 is 6 times 2 is 12. That is
Alright, careful. On the psst, you should get square root of 3 and square root of 2.
So be
Maybe it'd be easier to think, this isn't something convenient squared, right? And also this number isn't divisible by 2. So at the very least, this would be a really inconvenient perfect square trinomial. So if it's inconvenient, I maybe just try the AC method. Okay, so let's try to run AC factor on 3x squared minus 5xy plus 2y squared. So how's the AC method work?
You want to multiply your A term by your C term. So that
Okay.
add to get your B term.
Okay, so A times C is
6.
6. And I want multiply, right? So I need two numbers, right? And they multiply to 6 and
Add to negative. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay.
add to 5, right?
Add to negative.
Yeah, add to negative 5. Trust me, it doesn't matter. Okay, so what are two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 5?
1 and 6.
Yep.
Oh, there's two options, aren't there?
1 and 6. 1 and 6.
Okay, so I got 1 and 6 or 2 and 3, right?
2 and 3.
So yeah, there's 2s and 3s right there.
Doesn't it have to be 6 though?
Negative
'Cause
two and
to
negative
keep it a negative.
Let's see, so I've got to add the negative,
So it'd be negative 2 and negative
negative 2, negative 3 seems to work. Also, negative 6 plus 1 would work.
3. It would factor out better if you use 2 and 3 to match the top.
I'm not sure what's happening here. This is super cool. I've never run into this with an AC method. Let's try one. Right? What else are you going to do? Stand there scared of it? So what are we going to try?
6 and 1.
I'm going to try 2 and 3 because there's a 2 and a 3 in the problem, right? Okay, so I'm going to start with 3x squared minus
3xy.
3xy
Minus 2xy.
minus 2xy plus 2y squared.
Yep.
You guys see that? So this is the AC part, right? You think about the B as those two numbers that you got from the AC method. Okay, and then what?
You group
you
2
do
halves
factor.
together and factor.
Yeah, so we need to factor by grouping, which hilariously I hadn't really appreciated was a skill worth knowing. Okay, so what do you factor out of the first thing? 3x. What are you left with?
X minus y.
X minus y. And out of this guy, what do you factor?
2y.
Negative 2y.
I'm going to go with negative 2y. If you go with y, or sorry, if you go with a 2y, you'll have y minus x left in here instead of x minus y. Then these two things won't be the same and you won't be able to factor them out. If you do that, notice that it's off by a negative 1, factor a negative 1 out and get the same thing. This doesn't have to be done in one step, right? You can do this in a couple of steps. So this should be what now in here?
X plus.
X minus y. And if it was x plus y, I would know I had screwed up because these two things wouldn't be the same. You guys see that? These two things should be the same if the AC method's working, right? All right, so once I'm here, what do I do?
3x
3x minus 2
3x.
Okay, so this is one of those kind of vaguely confusing things, right? this step was factor out an x minus y, right? Or alternatively, we could think about it as there's 3x of whatever the heck these guys are, and then there's take away 2y of whatever those guys are. So all told, there's 3x minus 2y of whatever those guys are. You guys see that? So we can think about this either as a factor or as a group like terms. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so once we're here, what do we do?
Put it back on the top.
Put that back over here. Okay, so we've got this.
That day.
Okay, now we need to find our onesie. So what's our onesie?
3x minus 2y.
The 3x minus 2y. Okay. And so this is equal to x over x minus y.
Can you pull the X out now?
No, that's a
No,
false
you're
cancel
done.
right there.
Yeah, so we might think to ourselves, I can get one more x, right? Totally reasonable thing. Totally not because of this minus sign. You guys pull that?
Yeah.
So you're done here. And if you hadn't had this instruction about assume that all the variables are restricted, blah, 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 where would you be filling holes?
Wherever X minus Y equals 0.
Close. You filled a hole with this thing.
3X take away 2Y.
Yeah, you'd be filling holes whenever 3x minus 2y equals 0. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to write an asterisk here on this equal sign, it really would read except when 3x minus 2y is 0. Let's cool that. Those are the holes in your domain that you filled. Of course, this is a weird thing, right? Because this is a two-dimensional function. Right? It has two input variables. And we really haven't talked about those. But they work exactly the same way. They're still a rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Questions, concerns, things? Okay, cool. Okay, so are there any questions?
So what if we add the 1 and the 6?
Yeah, so what if we tried the AC factoring method with the 1 and the 6 instead? I don't know. Let's try it. We could learn something new. So how would I try the AC method with the 1 and the 6 instead?
-6 and 1.
Yeah, I need -6 plus 1. So I'd put in, instead of my minus 5xy, a -6 xy plus xy plus 2y squared. Right? Okay, and then I should factor. What can I factor out of this piece by grouping?
3X.
3x. What am I left with?
X minus 2.
Weird. Okay. And out of this piece,
Y.
I can factor a y. And what am I left with?
X plus
Yeah, that's where I was
If you change the Y to a negative,
because it's
isn't 1 times -6 still -6 and 1 a +6? Don't only 2 and 3 work?
It looks like
The AC, yeah, so the AC factoring method doesn't,
because you'd have -6 opposite -6.
yeah, so we could maybe add our signs to this. Maybe that's our problem. I've always assumed the signs didn't matter at all and that you would just sort it out, but maybe it does matter. In this case, I would say that the AC factoring method isn't working because these two things aren't the same, and so I can't factor them out.
And to cancel, you have to get 3x minus 2y.
Yeah, so maybe I should add a slight caveat to my AC factoring method, which is that sometimes there will be two pairs, and sometimes one of the pairs won't work. Yeah, cool. Neat. We can learn things.